Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. We're continuing our look into the Jeffrey Epstein narrative. This is part 8,
Right.
and today we're really getting into something complex. These alleged connections Epstein had to intelligence services, Mossad, the CIA, that kind of thing.
It's a persistent theme,
Yeah.
definitely.
And the sources you've given us, they're quite varied. We've got court documents, some YouTube transcripts, a real mix. So our mission today, really, is to figure out where these theories originate.
Who's pushing them? Yeah.
Exactly. Who promotes them? And crucially, is there any actual credible evidence? Any declassified records that back any of this up?
hmm It's about separating the solid stuff from, well, the rumors.
Totally. Fact from theory.
And what's fascinating, I think, is just how deep these ideas have gotten into the public conversation. Sometimes it feels like the line between just guessing and actual evidence gets really, really blurry.
For sure.
So we'll look at the specific claims in the material, try to connect them to the bigger picture, maybe.
And encourage some critical thinking about what we can actually say is substantiated based only on these sources we have in front of us.
Exactly.
Okay, so where should we start? This is where it gets really interesting. Maybe with Robert Maxwell. Ghislaine's father. He comes up a lot in these theories.
Yeah, he's a central figure in this part of the narrative.
The sources, they don't mince words, do they? One describes him as a known 100% locked and Israeli intelligent agent for decades. That's quite a statement.
It is. It's very direct. And the sources try to back that up, right? They mention he received a state funeral in Israel.
Right, with eulogies from, who was it, the president and Prime Minister Shamir at the time?
Yitzhak Shamir, yeah. And also the burial plot that detail gets mentioned on the Mount of Olives, facing the Western Wall.
Which the source calls the highest honor in that context.
Mm-hmm. And they quote Shamir saying Maxwell has done more for the state of Israel than can now be told, which, is presented as kind of Exhibit A for this supposed intelligence connection.
Okay, so if the sources establish Robert Maxwell as this intelligence figure,
Mm-hmm.
how do they then bring Epstein into that orbit?
Well, the allegation is that Maxwell and Epstein were working together back in the 80s.
On what specifically?
The sources mention weapons deals and other sort of vague intelligence operations.
Okay.
And there's a specific claim about Robert Maxwell's pension fund, that it was used essentially as a slush fund.
A way to move money.
Yeah, to conduit to move money through. And the claim is that Epstein was the guy who made sure that it moved around in ways that couldn't easily be traced.
Huh. And who's making these claims? Where does that info supposedly come from?
According to the material, this comes from sources in Israeli and U.S. intelligence circles, that they work together with intelligence on these operations. That's the quote.
Okay, so that sounds pretty involved. Does this mean then that the sources are saying Epstein himself was a Mossad agent?
Now that's a really important distinction to make. And actually, one of your own sources tackles this directly.
Oh, really? What does it say?
It explicitly states, we have no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein is a Mossad agent who worked for Mossad.
Okay, so it draws a line there.
It does. It describes Epstein as existing at the heart of the Zionist world, whatever that means exactly, but it refutes the direct claim of him being an agent for Mossad.
That's crucial. So proximity or connections alleged, but not actual agency status, at least according to that source.
Exactly. And that nuance is often lost, I think, in the wider discussion. It's vital to see that distinction right there in the material we're looking at.
Right. Okay, so beyond those sort of direct Maxwell-Epstein operational claims, there's also this strong undercurrent in the sources about a wider influence or cover-up, isn't there? Especially about information being held back.
Oh, definitely. The idea of a cover-up, or at least powerful people intervening, is very prominent.
Like Les Wexner, the founder of The Limited, he gets mentioned.
Yeah, he's described in one source as a proxy for Israel in the U.S. in many ways. And the allegation, or maybe speculation, is that he and other powerful people who are integrated into those agencies might have, leaned on the Trump administration.
How so?
The source suggests they might have told Trump to shut this down for their own sake. This meaning the release of Epstein files.
Interesting. So connecting powerful business figures, alleged Israeli ties, and potential government influence.
That's the narrative presented, yes.
Yeah.
And another piece that gets brought up as potentially odd or suspicious is the discovery of a passport.
Oh, yeah. What kind?
A Saudi passport, found in one of Epstein's safes during the initial raids. The source calls it an odd one and suggests it points to some sort of intelligence connection.
Not proof, but definitely adds to the mystery for someone looking for those kinds of links.
Precisely. It's presented as another anomaly that fuels the intelligence theories.
And we touched on the Trump administration. The sources mentioned the Epstein files quite a bit. What was the gist there?
Well, the sources point out that national security concerns were raised as a possible reason for not disclosing everything.
Okay.
President Trump himself is quoted saying he trusts his team to disclose as much information as he possibly can without jeopardizing our national security.
Which, from the perspective of these sources, sounds like confirmation that there is sensitive info being withheld.
Exactly. It implies a potential government interest in keeping certain things under wraps, which feeds right into those broader theories of powerful forces at play.
And then there was that idea of a smokescreen. What was that about?
Yeah, that came from a Newsmax host, Rob Finery. He suggested, quite pointedly, that the Trump administration's investigations into Comey and Brennan,
The former FBI and CIA directors.
right, that those investigations were actually just a smokescreen to distract from the Epstein files.
So basically a deliberate misdirection.
That's the theory put forward, that powerful people were trying to shift the public's focus away from Epstein.
You can really feel the, I don't know, the frustration and suspicion coming through in these sources.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's palpable. There's even that quote presented as a joke from a YouTube source.
About Pam Bondi.
Yeah, the Attorney General, allegedly refusing to release Epstein files because she got too much money from Israel.
Wow. Even as a joke, that reflects some serious distress.
It really does. It taps into this public sentiment that powerful figures might be compromised or influenced. And it captures that public questioning, too, like, why wouldn't you just tear into Epstein? If there's nothing to hide related to Israel or intelligence, why hold back?
Yeah, if it's straightforward, why the secrecy? That seems to be the underlying question. And it feels like woven through all this is the idea that Epstein isn't just about one person's crimes, but part of something much bigger, more systemic.
Exactly right. One source explicitly connects the Epstein files, or the perceived lack of transparency around them, to this larger pattern of alleged deception.
Like other major events.
Yeah, drawing parallels to things like 9/11, JFK, RFK, these huge unresolved questions in American history.
So framing Epstein as just another example of hidden forces manipulating information.
Precisely. It leads to that really provocative question posed in the source. If you're lying about that, you're lying about everything. It elevates the Epstein case into this symbol of much deeper distrust.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground here, a lot of different claims and theories. Let's try to pull it together. What's the bottom line on these intelligence connections based purely on the sources we've reviewed today? Is there a definitive yes or no?
Well, connecting it all, the sources definitely paint a really fascinating picture of these allegations and the public mood around them. But, and this is key, actual concrete declassified evidence that proves Jeffrey Epstein was an active operative for Mossad or the CIA. That's not in the material we looked at.
And in fact, one source specifically denied the Mossad agent claim.
Exactly. It explicitly says no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein is a Mossad agent. However, the specific claim about Epstein and Robert Maxwell working together in the 80s on intelligence operations involving moving money, that is presented as coming from multiple Israeli and U.S. intelligence circles within these sources. So while the direct agent label is refuted in one place, this other claim about collaborative operations is asserted as having an intelligence source.
So it's nuanced. No smoking gun for the Epstein as agent theory in these docs, but specific allegations of collaboration sourced supposedly to intelligence circles persist.
Right, and those allegations, plus the odd details like the Saudi passport, plus the general feeling that information is being withheld, that's what keeps these theories alive and circulating.
So the verifiable facts, or lack thereof, in our sources tell one story, while the theories and interpretations tell another, more elaborate one.
Yeah, and what really stands out, I think, is how these narratives, even without that definitive proof, tap into something real, that public distrust of powerful institutions, that hunger for answers when things don't seem to add up.
Absolutely. The sheer persistence of these questions about intelligence ties, or at least hidden powerful forces, it really underscores how much people want a full understanding here. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? If connections that powerful are even being seriously alleged, what does that imply about accountability, about the reach of that kind of influence?
It certainly gives you a lot to consider. Critical thinking is just so essential when you're wading through this much information, speculation, and, well, some documented facts. As we've seen, some claims get repeated a lot but lack that verifiable backing in the documents we have, while others paint this complex, maybe unproven, but still intriguing picture of deeper ties. What's the biggest thing that stands out to you from looking at all this rumor versus fact today?